It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show, and this is the first show in a new month. This is February 3rd, 2025. This is the B block, which means we do it at around 7:20, and it's 7:22. John, are you ready for my call to the one and only Bill Eigel?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to hit the button right now, do this, hit call, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll ring here. Oh, we get a ring. We get one ring.
Hi, this is Bill Eigel.
Bill Eigel, Brad Hildebrand.
Hey, Brad. Good morning.
Bill, I already know the story, and I have sources. And can I tell you what my sources have told me?
What have they told you?
Well, you didn't quite make it with the state because of the fact that, matter of fact, I had several people tell me that when people were voting, they were going like, we listen to Brad's show on Friday morning, and he's right. Bill Eigel running for the head of the Republican committee is like you know, some famous movie star showing up at like the local theater, are like some big rock star who normally plays arena playing the Del Mar Hall. Okay, here's what I've been told. Here's what I've been told, Bill. Now that you're not going to be the head of Republican guy, okay? I heard that you are very upset about Melvin Dewey. Dewey. Do you know who Melvin Dewey is?
No, nor do I know why I should be upset about it.
He's the inventor of the Dewey Decimal System, and he was a very liberal guy. So I've heard that you are going to take over the St. Charles County City and County Library District and reform the Dewey Decimal System because you're not happy with the fact that Melvin Dewey was a very liberal guy, and you think that's what's had the problem with all the libraries, that they got all these terrible books in there, and you're going to take care of business. You're going to clean house. You're going to get rid of the Dewey Decimal System, and that's your new job, correct? Am I right?
Well, I tell you what, that would be yet another very interesting rumor that I've heard about what my plans are over the past few months. So, that was oddly specific, but I might give that some thought. You never know. But no, I think that's not going to be what the decision is. Okay,
so do I need the drum roll? What is Bill Eigel going to do? Tell us now, Mr. Eigel.
I'm coming home. I have always enjoyed a tremendous amount of support from the people here in St. Charles County. I have lived here and raised a family here in St. Charles County. I've run a business here. And so over the coming weeks, I'm going to be putting together the infrastructure to ask the people of St. Charles once again if they will entrust me to be their next county executive.
Wow. You're going to be the county executive. Now, are you going to be as good as Joe Ortworth?
Oh man, I don't know if it'd be good to compare me to anybody from the past, because we've had some good county executives, and that's what's helped us make sure that St. Charles County has been so successful over the past 30 and 40 years. So it's going to be a new course, but I have a great respect for Joe. I have a great respect for our current county executive, Steve Elman. But we're going to continue to do the things that have made us successful. So
if Elliot Davis corners you in a hallway, if you become elected, and he asks you some pointed questions, you're not going to say, Elliot, God loves you? You're not going to do that, are you?
No. And I have actually been on with Elliot Davis several times because he made a long career out of tracking down government waste, and I was always a cheerleader for Elliot Davis. So no, I hope that we see Elliot Davis, because if he can help me find more waste, we're going to get rid of it.
So Bill Eigel officially is going to be running for the county executive against, and I have to be honest with you, a good friend of mine, a guy who's a fellow radio guy, Mike Elam. I mean, Mike's a tough guy. It's going to be a tough battle, don't you think?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Mike. I think that he's on the county council right now. I think that he's been a real advocate. I know he's just as passionate about St. Charles County as I am. This has nothing to do or is in any way a reflection on him. I have always believed that St. Charles County and the things that we're doing here in our county, we ought to be adopting a lot of those things statewide so that the rest of the state can be successful. But if I can have a role in helping continue to make St. Charles County a place that's great for families, that's a low crime area and is growing and leading the state in growth, that would be tremendous, and I'd be humbled to do so.
Well, I will tell you one thing right now, Bill, and take this in the spirit I intended. Okay, you're going to have a tough time beating Mike Elam, because you know why?
Why's that?
He's a member of the Westplex Chamber of Commerce, and you're not. So,
yes. That's right. Well, it's there's always room for personal and professional growth for me. So we'll see what the next year and a half holds. I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of folks that maybe I haven't had a chance to talk to before.
Okay, so you're not going back to the skylight business then?
No, I think the skylight business has been doing well without me. So no, right now this is going to get a lot of my attention, and I'm excited.
Okay, appreciate it, Bill. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great morning, guys.
Bye-bye. What do you think, John?
Hey, fantastic. I'm glad that Bill gave us a little bit of clarity. He teased it on Friday and he delivered. He came through. So it looks like now we're going to have Bill Eigel versus Mike Elam versus Brad. You've mentioned that Nick Buccioni may be running for St. Charles County Executive. So we'll probably have at least a three-way dance, don't you think?
Yeah, but someone who is pretty authoritative on this told me that if Bill Eigel was in, that Nick would probably be out. So I don't know. You know what? I'm like Obama. I got my pen here in my pocket. I got my phone right here. I'm going to hit this button right here, and I'm going to see if this person answers. And we're going to have a little interesting conversation possibly. And hopefully this person will answer. If not, we'll schedule them for tomorrow or maybe later today. Guess who I'm calling? I don't think they're going to answer. You know who I'm calling, John?
No, I'm letting the phone ring. I don't know.
Well,
hi, this is Mike Elam. Thanks for calling. Sorry, I missed your call right now. I'll call you back in just a little bit. Thanks.
Hey, Mike, Brad Hildebrand. If you can't give me a buzz back, I'm on the air right now. Going to be air until 8 o'clock. It's Monday morning. It's 7:29 right now. 314-280-8880. 314-280-8880. Thanks, Mike. It's going to be interesting because
it's fantastic, right?
What's that?
I said it's fantastic. It's going to be. You think it's going to be a bloodbath, Brad?
Now, you know what? I see. You really want my sort of my handicap on the horse race here?
That's why I ask. I want it.
Okay, Mike Elam appeals to, and this is my opinion, the more mainstream kind of person. Mike Elam is a very, very, very straight ahead, middle of the road kind of guy. Really, I have tremendous respect for Mike, not because of the fact that he used to be in the radio business, but he's just one of those guys that he's personable, he gets things done. Matter of fact, he's currently the chairman of the St. Charles County Council. I think this is like the third time he's done it. I've been very impressed by him, and partly because of the fact that, he's one of the more shall we say, successful radio people. Because remember, we had this conversation about a month or so ago, and I say that there's no upward mobility for most people in the radio business because if you're on air, if you're talent, so to speak, and Mike did on-air stuff, and he did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. He was a producer and a voiceover. He still does a lot of voiceover work. He did a lot of commercials and things like that. You're pretty much limited to that's as far as you're going to go in the radio business because you can never become the general manager because the general managers
we get it.
always come out of sales. Okay. Mike's one of these guys who has crossed over from the talent side of the business into and not necessarily in the business, but he's just a good reasoned guy, and he does a nice job in the county council. Although he will admit, and I think this is the interesting thing, when he ran for re-election, he ran against Mr. Frisella, Tony Frisella Jr., and he thought it was going to be not a tough race. He almost lost. It was very, very, very close. And Mike will sort of admit that he underestimated Tony Frisella. Now, what's Tony Frisella represent? Tony Frisella represents sort of the crazy, weird Bill Eigel part of the party. Now, I say crazy, weird because I'm the kind of guy that I say the pendulum swings back and forth. And what is bothersome to me right now going on the national scene is Trump, saying we're going to charge 25% tariff to Canada and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I appreciate the fact that he's getting things done. I think he's just going a little bit too far. And people are going like, oh, hold on a minute. Trump said he was going to bring down prices. How is he going to bring down prices if everybody's going to slap tariffs on the stuff that we're importing because Canada's already said it's going to do it?
Okay, yeah, let's get back to St. Charles County. I think that's what folks are listening to the segment to get a little more insight, Brad, from you on keep going on the idea of, so what you're saying is that Mike Elam survived a challenge from the right from a guy named Frisella. And I'm guessing Frisella is related to the tree and nursery group, right?
Yeah, it's matter of fact, he runs it now. Tony Jr. is third generation. Tony Sr.
Okay, that's plenty of biographical detail there.
Yes.
So you're saying that Mike survived a primary opponent on the right and came through, and there could be parallels to Mike Elam facing a county exec challenge from the right from Bill Eigel, is what you're saying.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, and I think it's going to be a tough race, I mean, and I think that Mike has the disadvantage that Bill Eigel got all this publicity about when he was running for governor in the primary. And I think a lot of people saw him as being like, Bill doesn't have a chance. And he ended up beating, your buddy, Jay Ashcroft, he beating your buddy. And go back 2 years ago, most people said, and correct me if I'm wrong, most people said, Jay Ashcroft's going to be the next governor. Wasn't that pretty much the?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Very few people, including me, said that Mike Kehoe was going to win. There weren't many people that accurately predicted that. However, Brad, I will point out that in the governor's race in St. Charles County, Bill Eigel got roughly 46% of the vote. Mike Kehoe got 32% of the vote in St. Charles County. Jay Ashcroft got about 18%. So Bill Eigel got 46% in St. Charles County. Now, that doesn't mean that all those folks are going to vote for him over Mike Elam, but that's a dang good chunk of voters in St. Charles County, Brad.
Okay, I will say this right now, and I will be upfront and say I'm biased toward Mike Elam. I just will say that right up front. But having said that, you look at the current county executive, Steve Elman, who I have a lot of respect for. Steve Elman is, shall we say, the steady hand on the wheel. Would you agree with me when I said that?
Absolutely. That's a great way to describe him, Brad.
The steady hand on the wheel. And St. Charles County has prospered under his leadership, okay? Joe Ortworth was, to a certain extent, sort of a bomb thrower. And Joe Ortworth, I think, would fall into the Bill Eigel camp. Would you be safe to say that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the camps were a little different back in the 90s and early 2000s. We're comparing kind of apples to oranges there. But I get your point, Brad. I mean, a good conservative who is not part of the good old boy network, I guess you could say.
Well, the problem I have with Joe Ortworth is the religion thing got a little bit too much for me, and to the point where there's this classic story of the family arena. And I will never understand Joe Ortworth and the family arena, how he hated that family arena. And to a certain extent, Steve Elman is no fan of it as well, too. There's a lot of history that goes in the fact that it was originally a public-private partnership kind of a deal. And Joe Ortworth made a stupid move back when, which got national attention directed on St. Charles County, and it was very negative. And that scares me a little bit with Bill Eigel, because Bill Eigel, let's be honest, is sort of a bomb thrower. Bill Eigel is the one, my way or the highway. You can look back at the things we've got. The reason, I will say this up front, the reason there's an abortion amendment on the Missouri Constitution, I say Bill Eigel had a lot to do with that, in the fact that it got passed because of Bill Eigel. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would disagree with that. And in the remaining minutes we have here, Brad, so I think it would be fair to say, do you think from what you know of Mike Kehoe, it would be fair to compare Mike Elam to Mike Kehoe? And that it's hard to meet Mike Elam in person and not like Mike Elam.
No,
you get what I'm saying?
I agree. And Mike's a very nice guy. I sat with him at last month at the Cottleville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce general membership meeting, and he has people that come up to him and, hey, Mike, and very, very, very personable guy, and because that's Mike. Mike. He one year when I was doing the you're going to say I'm going off topic here, but let me just
You are, but go ahead. We still have a couple minutes.
Okay, let me just tell the quick story. He got an award from the Salvation Army. I was the chairperson for the tree campaign, where we did the.
And you wear all your clothes from the Salvation Army.
I do, and I say, as my dad instructed me, don't ever give a penny to the American Red Cross. Give your money to the Salvation Army.
Yes, we know that. Keep going, Brad.
Okay, and Mike was appointed. He won the award for the Shining Star as a great person in St. Charles County, blah 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 blah, and he gave his acceptance speech, and he told the story about him being in the Navy, which has really impacted me. And he talked about the fact that the last thing you had to do to clear basic training, to graduate from basic training in the Navy, you had to swim 200 yards. And they don't care if you dog paddled, if you swam on your back.
And make the analogy to the city, Brad. I love the way you do this.
Right. And the idea was, the reason for that was he was told that if you're in the Navy and if you're in a ship and the ship starts to sink and you have to abandon ship, you want to be 200 yards or 600 feet away from where the ship's going to go down, because if you're too close, you're going to get sucked under by the undercurrent when the ship goes down. Okay? And Mike has used that as sort of his mantra in life, because of the fact that the idea being is you don't want to be around the sinking ship. I mean, you don't, it's not to the point where you don't want to, abandon ship. That's the wrong way to look at that. But somehow I think that, here's my Mike Elam and my Bill Eigel analogy. They're both on a ship. They jump off. Bill Eigel goes, hey, I'm not going to swim because of the fact that God's going to take care of me. And Mike's going to go like, well, God's going to take care of me when I'm 200 yards away. Get what I'm saying, John?
Wow. Yeah, that's quite an analogy. I would disagree with that. First of all, let's go back to Salvation Army. If you like the shirt that Brad is wearing, you can find it at the Salvation Army. Brad also got that shirt with a cup of soup.
John,
that's how Brad.
I work closely with the Salvation Army people for 6 or 7 years or 8. I can't remember. I was the chairman of their committee, and I didn't do that much. The Salvation Army people are just a special breed. I have never met a group of people that are more even-keeled and so self-sacrificing for the
you are absolutely right. Let's get back to the St. Louis County executive race, Brad. What I would expect to happen is that Mike Elam will run a Mike Kehoe type campaign. He'll be at every Chamber of Commerce event. He'll remind people that he's been there a long time. He's done great work with, the private sector stuff that he's done, and which, by the way, Brad, is why he's able to have a roof over his head. He's not relying on the radio to actually pay bills. What kind of a moron does that? Mike Elam has a real job. And also, so Mike Elam will run a Chamber of Commerce campaign, and I bet Bill Eigel replicates the success that he had in the statewide campaign and takes it to a countywide level. Instead of being a small and medium fish in a big statewide pond, Bill's going to bring that same mentality to the St. Charles County boundaries and try to run that same campaign. He's going to do a lot of stuff that gets a lot of attention, and Mike Elam is going to run a solid, steady-hand Chamber of Commerce campaign. And I think it's going to be, I'm getting live texts, Brad, from people whose names I will not mention, and it will be, as a friend says, a titanic battle for the soul of St. Charles County. And, Brad, it's been nearly 3 weeks since you told who's the pillow guy? Mike Lindell. Maybe when we come back, you could tell that. I know you wanted to sneak that into B Block, but people who are listening to this actually care about St. Charles County, so I wanted to get the St. Charles County stuff in.
So you think my Mike Lindell story is a bad story? Every once in a while.
No, it's a great story, and I love the fact that we hear it every 3 weeks. If this is your first time, by the way, thanks to Jason Rosenbaum, and thanks to Chris Cook, and thanks to Seth York and other folks who have tweeted and retweeted this. I appreciate it, that are listening now. If you haven't listened to the Brad and John show before, welcome here on this Tuesday. We very rarely have people call in. Very early, I told Brad that I do not want this to be one of those idiot call-in shows where the host asks the same 4 boring questions of the same statewide speakers. It's rare that we have a speaker on, but we appreciate having Bill Eigel on. We've had Mike Elam on before. Brad, you do a fantastic job, as you've done for 50 years in the radio industry, asking really good questions of people, and I'm so glad you set this up with Bill Eigel today.
Well, but did you like my Dewey Decimal System setup? Did you like that?
I did. That was fantastic. DDS, I was really thinking of, we won't say the name of the dentist that I referred you to, but he's fantastic. I was thinking maybe you're going to send Bill Eigel to your dentist and my dentist, who I love.
I should have asked Bill Eigel for a reference.
For an ENT, yeah.
Remember,
for folks that weren't around for A-Block, if you have a good ENT, send it to Brad. Brad's doing this. You know how when you're around old people, they do like that throat thing that's really disgusting, and you wonder if there's phlegm in there or just saliva? Brad's been doing that. We want to get him to stop.
I have a feather stuck in my throat, or at least I think I do. Okay.
And Brad spends a lot of time at the cabaret, which is why he has a feather down his throat.
That's right. Those boas are hell on my throat, I'm telling you. Okay, we have to take a break. Does this show make any sense, John?
It does, and folks love it.
You know, if Tracy were listening right now, she'd go, "Wait, would never."
Oh, Brad, don't bring up your ex-lover.
They would never make it on my station. Okay.
Rick's going to show up at the station again, saying that you're talking about Tracy, and
Well,
you're going to have to deny everything.
You know what? I went to buy a used car a couple weeks ago, and I ended up at Tracy's place because that's what it used to be, a used car lot. Okay, you think I'm kidding too?